probably started at the age of 14, where I joined staff. I went on. What I did was I was hanging out at the Scientology Center at the Church of Scientology there, and because my parents were Scientologists, and just spent some time going through the books and hanging out and just being, you know, the child of a Scientologist. And it was only a matter of time before they had coaxed me, or sold me the dream of joining staff and clearing the planet at 14, that I signed a 2.5-year contract and worked 40 hours plus. I had dropped out of high school. I was no longer going to school. I had never had a job. I'd never driven. I basically wasn't doing the things that most people do in society, and I was working full time.
And this was all happening in the Midwest?
Yeah, this is happening in the Midwest, and eventually some Sea Org recruiters came down to the organization from ASHO, which is in Southern California, in the big blue building down there. And they sold me the dream of joining the Sea Org and traveling the world, and living in really upstate environment, and I went to my mother and talked to her about this, and she kind of was a little hesitant, I could tell, but at the same time she wasn't. You're not allowed to deny somebody being upstate in Scientology. So when I decided to join the Sea Org, if she were to tell me no, it would put her in a lower condition and cause her grief and problems within Scientology. And being married to a Scientologist who was higher up in the management back in the 70s, that meant a lot to our family. It meant a lot not to upset the management of Scientology and to wind up in lower conditions, which is a fear of all Scientologists. I then decided, being young and adventurous, I wanted to travel the world and do all the exciting things that they told me that I was going to be able to do. I joined the Sea Org. I signed a billion-year contract. I went to LA. I worked upwards of 80 hours, sometimes more, depending on when their magazines need to be printed. I can remember times where there were 2-3 nights in a row. We would work 24 hours a day. We would take naps occasionally. And we would stuff envelopes. So we would put the Auditor magazine together, and we'd staple it and put all the papers together. And we did this for hours and hours and hours on end, with no breaks, or very limited breaks, because we were under the pressure of getting it done, making it go right. Because the publisher decided they didn't want to print this magazine because maybe Scientology wasn't paying their bill. So all the Scientologists, a group of us, had to go in there, and we had to do it for the publishing companies. And that, in doing stuff like that, I've cleaned out trash compactors when they got jammed. I've gone up in the dumbwaiter in the big blue building, where I had to actually stand on top of stand inside the dumbwaiter while they lifted it up, and it would get jammed. And they would bring it back down, and I stood on the thing, and it would go up, and I'd had to unjam the dumbwaiter, which is what they put the trays of dirty dishes. They go up and down from the kitchen to the dining room, and I remember standing inside this thing, and the stink was god awful. And the cockroaches were all over the walls. There were cockroaches everywhere. It was really bad. And I had a medical condition at the time, which was causing me to limp a lot. And it was something that was very curable. It was very treatable. It's just an ingrown toenail. I could just go to the doctor and pop it out. It's a very simple procedure. And I was told that I pulled it in. I was out ethics. I needed to do my conditions. And I basically limped around with an ingrown toenail. It's sad. I eventually wound up getting assigned to Pig's Birthing, which is a part of the birthing unit on the two wings of the outside of the Big Blue. It was up on the 6th or 7th floor, and it's where all the people who stink, who don't take showers, who don't make their beds and things like that. They put them there. It's kind of like a way of getting rid of the trash, but they don't want to lose the labor, but they want to get rid of the trash, so they put them in there.
And they don't bother to teach you how to do any of that stuff?
No. If you don't do that stuff, you're just out ethics. That's what that is. It wasn't because I was stinky or anything. My hygiene habits were probably as good as they could be for somebody who was never taught to take care of themselves.
I see.
My whole focus and concentration was on making the stats go up, pleasing the upper management, making sure I wasn't getting yelled at. As funny as it sounds, I just got yelled at anyway. It didn't matter, no matter what your stats were. Eventually, I left there because they were having some issues back in '89 with minors being in there, and there was some pressure by the government to get rid of the minors working full time, and so they basically sent me home, and I even had to pay for my own ticket to go back. Where I went back to the Class 4 org that was down there, and I began working full time as a volunteer because you're not allowed to go back on staff once you leave the Sea Org. Once I went back there, I was working again a lot of hours, and you know, I was 16 at the time. I still dropped out of high school, and basically, I had no skills at all. I didn't have a driver's license. I didn't even know where my Social Security card was. I was a nobody in society. I didn't exist. If I left Scientology, I would be, you know, dirt, which is what happened eventually. And I decided I didn't want to be in Scientology. I was acting out, and I was doing some other stuff, and it was a real bad situation for me. My parents finally decided that they were going to disconnect from me, and I was kicked out of the house. I no longer had a key to the place, and I was homeless. I was living in a trailer in the back of the house until my folks found out that I was sleeping in there, and then they started kicking me out of there. And I eventually wound up in an abandoned car down the street. Where eventually other members of the community took me in and took care of me, and you know, helped me out, gave me a place to stay occasionally. And it wasn't until I was picked up on curfew by the police department and put in juvenile detention, and some other related issue where I actually had to break into a building to sleep, and I got arrested doing that, and that's what eventually got me into the system, which ironically saved my life. Eventually, a Catholic boys' home came in and took me off the street, and got me into school, got me a little part-time job, and I started learning the hygiene habits and how to take care of myself and social skills and things like that. And I was able to go back to living a normal life. And I think that's about where we left off.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.